The aftermarket business in Europe in general is a very important business sector. It's generating more than the new cars business actually, because there are millions of cars on the road and they need maintenance. And it's not only the independent aftermarket, which is the aftermarket sector that is not linked by contract to a car maker, but it's the total of the aftermarket that is important. And we do need a strong aftermarket and a well-regulated aftermarket in order to allow people to remain mobile. Because people, they buy a car, this is one thing they do, but they have to remain the cars on the road. So the aftermarket is the sector that keeps the cars on the road, and the vehicle manufacturers are the ones that put the cars on the road. Trends which are especially built up by the technical developments. So cars today are no longer to be serviced as 20 years ago. New modern cars need very specific technical equipment and very high know-how by the repairer to maintain them and to repair them. So what is important is that the aftermarket outlets, as well the franchised one as the independent ones, maintain their technical standard very high and maintain the standard of the education of their personnel very high. Normally in the European countries, independent repairers also do have their associations, their trade associations, with whom they are in contact. So in Brussels, they are their representatives, and if there are problems of infliction of the vehicle manufacturers against the rights of the block exemption regulation, they can be pursued by putting a complaint to the European Commission. And they can do that by themselves as well. Any individual repairer can apply with the European Union, with the Commission directly, saying my customer was refused the warranty because I repaired his car, or my customer, or I don't get all the spare parts that I need for a repair. All these complaints can be done directly with the Commission or through the trade organizations. I can't give you a definite answer on that, because it really depends on the qualification of the repairer, how he can manage with these problems. Obviously, any repair could be done within a day normally, except maybe crash repairs. So, and normally, at any place in Europe, all spare parts should be available within a day. So either from the independent supplier or from the franchise supplier. I think the European car park is approximately at its maximum. The market is saturized. There are no longer big increasement ratios, but the more so, the existing car park needs maintenance and repair. So it's the aftermarket and the repair sector becomes even more important now, because people don't buy new cars as fast as they did before. So and the market is so now closed, and for the vehicle manufacturers, the upcoming markets like China, like the United States, not a new market, but a growing market still, South Africa, Brazil, are more important for the new car sales. So new car sales in Europe is still a replacement market, yes, but if you take, for example, Germany, we have about 45 million cars registered, and there are about 3 million cars per year newly registered, but only 2 million get out of the market. So there is an increase per year, yes, but it's no longer the increase ratios we had before, and the car park in general becomes older. So, and the car park becomes older, which means it becomes more valuable for repair. We are very skeptical about used components. especially if you cannot control the quality of these parts, and especially if they are safety relevant parts. So definitely we would not consult anybody to build in one shock absorber from another car into his car, because they would not have the same qualification. As to remanufactured parts, we think that this is a good way to save for the environment, to save material, and if they are really remanufactured. But there again, it needs a strict quality control, because remanufacturing really means putting the part to the standard as if it were a new part, and only maintaining those parts of the component that have no wearing in it. So remanufacturing is definitely a growing sector. First of all, because of environmental questions. Secondly, because of the value of these parts. And the more people are driving cars which they either cannot afford, or they just can afford the cheapest repair possible. And since a remanufactured part normally is something like 30% to 40% less expensive than a new part, it is a valuable part of this market. I think that an independent repairer as a neighbor is very important. You see, the franchise dealers very often have big outlets somewhere at the border of the town, and people don't want to go there for a long distance. A neighborhood repairer still would have a big chance, but we ask for the same quality of repair there. So we do have right now a movement where anywhere in Europe these independent repairers become system partners of their wholesalers. So the wholesalers create a brand under which the independent repairer, together with his own name, can offer their services. And for the final consumer, it's kind of a guarantee that he gets a similar service in all of the independent repair shops of this same retailing of car parts, because the service that is required for supplying workshops goes far beyond taking a part from a shelf and giving it to him. What is requested by the repairers now is technical information, it's financing, it's logistic help, it's even help with special tools and things like that. So a retail business in the old sense could not do that. So I think that only very qualified distributors, which I call now wholesalers or whoever you may call them, I just call them distributors, can supply these services, and they will be more important in the future, because the more modern cars need more sophisticated equipment, more sophisticated parts, more sophisticated information. Car parts are sold on the internet already, and it's not only the sale from B2C, but it's also B2B. And the problem is that car parts are not easily to be defined. So there are commodity parts like batteries, like tires, that have a certain reference number, and they are all the same from any brand. They can easily be dealt on the internet, but specific parts for specific cars are very difficult to be determined on the internet, unless we come to a use of internet catalogs that are based on the same catalogs that the wholesalers are using. Obviously, there is a right for them to have access to this information. So it is up to the wholesale distributor to build up a line of information and to supply together with his parts the necessary information for the repair. So we consider this as our obligation, and we consider this as a main task in the future. So that's why we are fighting for getting access to these information in a way that we can deal with these things in our IT systems. I believe that the wholesaler should play this role, because if he leaves his garage customers alone, they will link themselves with the vehicle manufacturer, and then they will be lost as customers for the parts as well. So we can't tell them, go and get the information from BMW and come to us and buy your BMW parts. No, he wouldn't do that. So we have to do this information service as well. Obviously, the idea of the e-call is to save lives. So we can't be against that. And the point is that if the infrastructure for the e-call is mandatory in the cars, nobody could sort of say, I don't want it. And if you install the e-call architecture, you do have an architecture that can be used for a B call, which is a business call, or a S call, which is a service call as well. So the danger in there is that the vehicle manufacturers monopolize this market through the installation of the electronic transmission system that has been legally installed in the cars. The car owner could not do anything against it. So what we as FIGIEFA fight for is to have an open platform that the vehicle owner can choose where his data go, and that the vehicle owner can choose his partner. And he can choose the quantity of data that are definitely sent from his car. So the e-call itself, we welcome it. It's a new technique, and we can't be against it. But we are against the fact that the e-call architecture is abused by the vehicle manufacturers. And we don't have a final solution yet, but the Parliament gave us the task to develop a technical system which is based on the free access to an interoperable platform. So we are doing that right now, and we are very confident that the political decision makers are aware also of the fact that there is a strong problem with data protection, that there is a strong problem with monopolizing the market, so that they would be open for a solution that might be just in favor of an independent, competitive market. I don't really know the Portuguese market, but I can tell you one thing. The only way to succeed in this market is to offer quality. So the first thing is, if we do have the right of access to whatever we will, and if we are not able to use this access, what could we do with it? So the point is, it's with this technical information as well. They said, okay, we are having you are right, you have got the right to get technical information. But if those who have the right to use this technical information are not able to use it, it doesn't help anybody. So first of all is education of the independent repair sector, so that they are able to manage the new challenges of the new cars.